This episode is brought to you by Indeed. Stop waiting around for the perfect candidate. Instead, use Indeed sponsored jobs to find the right people with the right skills fast. It's a simple way to make sure your listing is the first candidates see. According to Indeed data, sponsored jobs have 4 times more applicants than non-sponsored jobs. So go build your dream team today with Indeed. Get a $75 sponsored job credit at Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply.
With Uber's new women preferences, women riders can request a woman driver whenever they want. Like Amy, who's traveling solo in a city she's never been to before. Or Danielle, who works night shifts at the hospital. Or Kelly and Jana, who were way overdue for a night out. Because sometimes comfort comes from having another woman with you. Request women drivers with women preferences on Uber. Learn more on the Uber app.
And now we're pleased to bring you our feature presentation.
Live from Joe's mom's basement, it's the Stacking Benjamin Show. I'm Joe's mom's neighbor, Doug, and how about a tale as old as time? Woman with not much money decides to buckle up and create a new life for herself, resulting in becoming wealthy beyond her wildest dreams. I mean, it happens every week, right? That's what's in the spotlight today as we chat with a woman who did just that, Whitney Elkins-Hutten. In our headline segment, 2 big planning firms report data breaches on client accounts. Are you at risk? We'll share details. Plus, and you knew this was coming, I'll wind up and pitch you some of my winter meets money themed trivia. And now, 2 guys who are to money what Johnny Weir and Tara Lipinski are to figure skating. I think I know which one's Johnny Weir. It's Joe and O-J-J-J-J-G.
Hey there, Stackers. Welcome to Wednesday. I can't believe it's almost Winter Olympics time. I am the Tara Lipinski of financial podcasting, Joe Saul-Sehy.
You are. With that smile of yours, you absolutely are.
We are super happy that you're here. And the most flamboyant guy in personal finance is with me, Mr. OG. And I'm like that waiter at the restaurant who waits until you got a mouthful of food and goes, how's everything tasting?
How's everything good? How's everything tasting?
Mm-hmm.
Yep, the glorious Costco chocolate brownie protein bar.
Fantastic. What is, OG, your favorite event of the Winter Olympics?
Hard to say favorite. I can tell you a few that I like off the top of my head. I like any of the downhill skiing things.
Me too.
Slalom or the Super G or whatever. I mean, that's just crazy. Basically, I'm watching myself. I think I'm like, oh, this is what I do. But it is wild. If you've ever gone skiing and you like track yourself and you're like, dude, I hit like 22 miles an hour on that run. That was insane. And then you see these guys that are like doing 106
on a little pieces of carbonate
sheet of ice all the way down.
Can we just talk about this the rest of the episode?
I was just thinking, listen
what
to
about
how
the ski and not the ski race, the they go around in a circle on skates. What's that called?
Speed skating?
Yeah, short track speed skating where they put 4 people on or 6 people on or whatever, and there's just chaos.
Well, did you see the one where the long distance one, and instead they took off and basically lapped everybody first and then just stayed at the back the entire time?
Yeah.
There's so many people moving around. This person was just like on the 2 mile thing that everybody goes all slow, went out like a cannon.
Yeah.
Lapped everybody and then just stayed at the back of the pack the entire time and
just
won
drafted, but was technically ahead of them because they had lapped them so many times.
But you're also staying out of the mess because when that hits almost every time they do it, it's crazy. Man, we got that coming up. We got the Super Bowl coming up. We got a lot of sports, but we got a sport today. How about making more money? There's a sport. And everybody, if you're a stacker, listen, you've dreamed about this idea of, man, what if I start building my stack and things go better for me and better for me over time? how do I get there? What's the strategy? Well, the woman today who we're going to talk to, and Doug, you hit the nail on the head. You don't have to really find your North Star at first. You just have to start moving. And Whitney Elkins-Hutten is going to tell her story. And man, this woman has amassed just a portfolio of investments that is pretty darn amazing. So we got Whitney coming up. We've got Doug's trivia coming up. We've got a headline about, sadly, some people who might not be in a great spot right now because their information was compromised. We're going to talk about all that today. But first, we got a couple sponsors who help us keep on keeping on. We're going to hear from them. And then Whitney Elkins-Hutten. Let me tell you just a little bit about her before we go to the sponsors. This woman, I'm going to have her tell this complete story, but listen to this. Whitney stumbled into real estate by accident, and after her first rental that went super well, she thought she was a genius and hit this hard rock and realized, oh, this might be a little harder than I thought, which some real estate investors, a lot of real estate investors run into that. But today, over 6,500 rental units, 15 car washes, more than 2,200 self-storage units. This woman is a partner in over $800 million of real estate, and she's building wealth for tomorrow. But you know what? It started with a single investment and went from there. Whitney Elkins-Hutten going to share her story when we come back. You may not know that when we started Stacking Benjamins, it was a blog. And even then, just the startup cost, I remember thinking, is this the right thing? And what if I write things and nobody comes, right? Well, luckily, that didn't end up happening. But starting something new isn't just hard. It's terrifying. There's so much work. You're not sure whether it's going to work out. You're not sure if anybody's going to read it. And then we change it to a podcast. Is anybody actually going to listen, right? What if nobody wants all the stuff that we have? Well, had I used Shopify, it would have been even easier because with their expertise, their helpful tools, and their easy-to-use platform, that's something that would have made Stacking Benjamins more effective much, much more quickly. Shopify is the commerce platform behind millions of businesses around the world and 10% of all e-commerce in the U.S. Names you've heard of like Heinz and Mattel, Shopify, Gymshark, Aviator Nation, Allbirds, also all Shopify. Get started with your own design studio with hundreds of ready-to-use templates. Shopify helps you build a beautiful online store that matches your brand style. And best yet, Shopify is your commerce expert with world-class expertise in everything from managing inventory to international shipping to processing returns and beyond. And did I mention that iconic purple Shop Pay button? It's used by millions of businesses around the world. It's why Shopify has the best converting checkout on the planet. It also helps boost conversions, meaning less carts going abandoned and more sales for you. So you're stacking Benjamins much more quickly. Time to turn those what ifs into with Shopify today. Sign up for your $1 per month trial today at shopify.com/SB. Go to shopify.com/SB. That's shopify.com/SB. Spring cleaning's made its way to my closet. This time of year always makes me rethink exactly what's in my closet. Really want to keep fewer things, but I also want to keep better ones. I want to feel confident, and to feel confident, looking the part's a big piece of that. So I want pieces that are well made and that are easy to wear all the time. And that's why I keep coming back to Quince. The fabrics feel elevated. The fits are thoughtful. Pricing actually makes sense. As I'm swapping out and I'm cutting, the few additions I'm making all come from Quince. Quince makes high-quality, everyday essentials using premium materials like 100% European linen. They're insanely soft, flow-knit activewear fabric. Their men's linen pants and shirts are lightweight, they're breathable, they're comfortable. Basically, the perfect layer for spring. The pants strike the right balance between laid back and refined. If you saw the video of me on stage at Retire Meet, those pants are from Quince. It was really cool. I came off stage and Christine Benz from Morningstar getting ready to go on behind me and said, "Love your pants." Not generally. I absolutely love them. I think they make me look put together without trying too hard. And they're Flownet activewear, moisture wicking, anti-odor, soft enough that you'll actually want to wear it all day. The best part is their prices. This is important, stackers. They are 50 to 60% less than similar brands. How? Quince works directly with ethical factories, cuts out the middlemen, so you're paying for quality, not brand markup. Everything's designed to last and make getting dressed easy, which is another thing I think we all want. I love those pants that I wore on stage. It's the cashmere sweater that every time I wear it, Cheryl goes, that is my favorite sweater on you. It looks great, feels great, and I don't have to have 50 things in my closet. So, like I am, refresh your wardrobe with Quince. Go to quince.com/SB for free shipping and 365-day returns. Now available in Canada, too. Go to QUINCE.com/SB for free shipping and 365-day returns. Quince.com/SB. And I'm super happy she's making her way down to the basement. Have a seat. Whitney Elkins-Hutten is here. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much. This is going to be fun.
Well, I'm super happy you get to help us, not just with a little bit of real estate 101, but really more about thinking differently about your money and thinking bigger about your money. But initially, I know you, well, even before we get to that, Whitney, let's do the book on Whitney really quick. You're a partner in more than $800 million worth of real estate, including over 6,500 multifamily units, 2,200 plus self-storage units, a dozen car washes. I want to get back to the car washes, and even more. So people think, well, Whitney, you know, she's always had everything together, but that wasn't the Whitney in 2002. Can you take me back to 2002 and tell me how your life kind of changed then to create the massive net worth and opportunities that you have today?
Well, 2002, I did not have my stuff together much at all. Actually, I was in the process of buying a house with a significant other, and it didn't really know much about money. My parents didn't, they were great. They taught me what they knew, but that was the old standard narrative. Go to school, get a good job, contribute to your 401k, and that's it. Write it out for 40 years. I had a little bit different vision for myself.
Wait a minute. Even then you did. In 2002, you had a different vision.
Yeah. I always thought, I'm kind of the unemployable type in a way. I don't get me wrong. Like I do still work, but I create my own work. But then I was a person that was always challenging, you want me to do what? What's the rate of return on this? My dad was a VP of sales and business. And so I grew up talking KPIs and setting goals and breaking things down. I mean, that was just, I didn't know what I didn't know. Like that's not how most people are brought up. But I didn't have the financial acumen to match with that. But, here I am, like always challenging the status quo. When you're like a 20-something-year-old, that's not what they hire you for. They hire you to be the worker bee. And so here I am, working in public health. I'm supposed to be the worker bee. I eventually get elevated to running the programs and doing the research programs. So yay me, I'm now in charge of something. And I think it wasn't because I was that smart. It was they just they needed me. They needed to point my energy in a more productive direction is what they needed. Anyways, my boyfriend at the time says, hey, we should buy a house. This seems like a great thing to do. I could fix it up. And I'm like, okay. He doesn't have the money. I have the money. I'm the one with the job. I'm the one with, have a little bit of, a couple pennies to rub together. I get the loan. Everything's under my name. The house, the utilities, everything. And
did you know anything about real estate?
No. My realtor had put the book Rich Dad, Poor Dad in my hands. And I read like the first 2 chapters. I'm like, got it, buy real estate. Duh, that's what we're doing here.
Right.
And I kind of skimmed the rest and I put it down. Well, I really wish I'd read the end of that book. Spoiler alert, I probably would have done things a lot differently. But you learn from your mistakes, I think, more so than your successes, right? Because when you make a mistake, maybe it's just the wrong decision and not an absolute failure, but regardless, you're going to learn more because if you succeed, there's no reason to question what you did. So anyways, we buy this house. I mean, I'm talking, it has green shag carpet, psychedelic daisies painted all over the walls, straight out of the 19th.
Sweet.
I did not think it was sweet. My boyfriend did. I'm sitting here going, wait a second. I think we just bought ourselves another job getting this thing.
Yeah.
Well, spoiler alert, relationship falls apart about a month later.
Oh, no.
So who's swinging the hammer now and replacing the carpet and covering up the psychedelic daisies, putting in countertops? Right here, me. And anyways, I got really scrappy. I mean, that really tested me and, put the house back together. I thought this whole entire time it's going to sink me, but I've got roommates paying the bills.
You immediately invite a bunch of roommates in because you realize this mortgage is going to sink you if you don't.
Yeah, at least I thought it did.
Okay.
But they're paying me to live in a construction zone and then also helping me with the rehab. Hey, how many times would you like that deal? Anyways, fast forward 11 months later, I sell the property and the title company has, a 20-something-year-old a $52,000 check. Hello. I'm like,
wow.
All right. How many more times can I do this? Because that was great.
Lather, rinse, repeat.
Exactly. So that was the first deal. I thought I was hot stuff on the second deal, bought in the wrong location.
Hold on, before we get to the second deal, I love the fact how you stumbled upon house hacking, right? Something that you and I talk about all the time now, Whitney. This idea that if I can maybe get a couple roommates, or I buy a duplex, or I do something to help defray these housing costs of mine, it makes life easier. You stumble upon this thing that's like one of the, quote, great secrets of getting started in real estate immediately. And I'm sure it wasn't all rainbows all the time with these roommates. I got to believe sometimes it was a pain in the ass, but overall, it sounds like all's well with the first house that ends well.
Yeah. I mean, you don't know what you don't know. Up until that point in time, I've been living with roommates. And so that nothing had changed for me. And as far as like lifestyle, I mean, did I wish I had a little bit more space in my own house? I mean, that's what I get into the deal thinking that I'm going to live with just one other person, not four.
Right.
And then 2 dogs and a cat.
God.
I thought the picture of life was very different for me.
It is now Whitney's farm. So anyway, now your ego is massive. You got a $50,000 check. I'm just going to do this again. And it sounds like you're telling me you're about to do house number 2 now.
Do house number 2. I'll fast forward. So not nearly as much of a rehab. 2006 hits. Now, most people hear 2008. Guys, most of that lending was happening in 2006. Guess who has an adjustable rate mortgage that starts adjusting in 2006?
Oh.
Again, this one right here. Anyways, so I'm like, whoa. I've got a lot of things going on at the same time. My dad is in very poor health. My mom's beside herself, not sure, what to do. And so I'm traveling back and forth. I'm also working 80 hours a week. I'm still working post 9/11, public health, working on anthrax and bioterrorism stuff. So, just burning the candle at both ends 5 times in the middle. And, I'm like, wow, that $52,000 really did not stretch very far. So long story short, I'm like, okay, I got to sell this house and start over, and I immediately figure out when I start to try to sell the property that I should have read the rest of that book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, because they say when you buy real estate, location, location, location. I bought in the location I wanted, not in a location that everybody else wanted.
Oh.
And so it takes a year to sell that property. I get an offer actually within 2 weeks of putting it on the market. I turn it down because my head's this big. It's huge. I get the same offer a year later. And I'm like, okay, tails between my legs. I'm like, I got to take this because here I am again. This piece of real estate is about to sink me. The whole transaction was just a pain in the butt. And it ended well. We closed. Let's put it this way. Both parties could not actually be in the same room in order to sign documents. The realtors kept us separate. They were mad because I wasn't paying for this retaining wall. All I had to do was bring $6,000 to closing. The retaining wall inflated to over $30,000. And the retaining wall failed within 24 hours of closing. And the bus that my neighbor had that had been just moved back onto the retaining wall. Okay, this is how a bus falls into the roof of a property. It's whenever the bus is parked above the property on the side of a mountain and the retaining wall collapses. And
you've got a bus, the retaining wall gives away, and the bus comes down the hill.
Everything goes into the property. with the guy in it, with the her tenant in it that has shotguns.
Oh.
Yeah.
Nobody's hurt though.
No one's hurt physically.
Sure.
It was a whole jam, afterwards, but the buyer was the one that contracted the wall. I didn't contract the wall at all. I just brought 6,000 to close.
Yeah.
They did all the work, the way it was all set up and the transaction was set up. So their wall failed, not my wall.
Wow. Thank God. Holy cow. Because I can imagine your wall failing. And you mentioned something too, that it was a piece of property that appealed to you. And I think we run into this all the time, especially if we're thinking about going into investment properties, that what appeals to me is probably the same stuff. But what was it that appealed to you that made it harder to sell?
Well, I'm a climber. And so I wanted to be in the mountains, near the mountains. The property was at just under 7,000 feet and like right outside of Rocky Mountain National Park. I mean, who wouldn't want to live there?
Yeah, me too. Sign me up.
And most of that community is a retirement community. So when I go to sell the property, pretty much every retiree is in their late 50s, 60s, maybe even their 70s. There were 19 steps from where you parked your car up to the porch. I had people that didn't even, they come from Florida wanting to have a cabin in Estes Park, and they only make it halfway up the steps. And they're like, we can't see the property. This is just too much.
They don't even make it to the house to see if
They don't even make it to the house.
Oh my goodness. But my question, obviously, when I listed all of those amazing properties that you own, clearly this failure did not stop you. And I'm wondering, because I would think to myself, Whitney, I would think, okay, I did really well my first time. Second time, wow, I made a lot of mistakes. I guess I got lucky my first time. I think I'm out. Like, I think I'm done. But you went the opposite way. What was the thought process of going, you know what? I think this was the mistake, the second one, and I can do this better, because you kept going.
Yeah, I did. I think a lot of people thought I was nuts, including my husband, because, we're dating at this time. The whole bus falls on the roof of the property. And he was out of town when that happened. He comes back into town. He goes, are you done with this real estate thing? And I'm like, nope.
And I got a story.
Here are the next 3 properties that I want to take this capital and go invest in. But now I'm looking at location. I still haven't stumbled across cash flow, right? So at this point in time, I solve for one mistake, and then I quickly uncover with my next properties. It was like, I don't want equity. I need equity and cash flow. I need to be able to grow my nest egg, but what's going to actually get me out of my day job so I can, feel comfortable about taking that leap, starting my own business, if we have kids, staying at home with the kids, is actually having cash come in the door like clockwork on a regular basis that I don't have to trade time for.
Yeah. And because I do want to dive into that. But before that, when you said you made a mistake, it sounds like then you were flipping houses. So you go into flipping houses, which gives you these big, $50,000 lumps of money, because now you've solved to do it better than the second time. But flipping houses is a time intensive, like this is a job after your job. Even if you hire a team of people, Whitney, well, you already know this, but our stackers don't. Even if you're a team of people, it still is activity based. You have to keep the team running. You got to stay on top of them. Like flipping houses is not a passive investment at all. Don't get me wrong. You can make good money doing it, but it almost is another full-time job.
It is. And, this is something that, the stackers can really take to heart. If you're willing to put in the work, I just moved into one of our flips. We did kind of a slow flip. While living there for 2 years, we did the cabinets and the flooring and painted and reworked some of the systems, systematically.
And 2 years is because of the capital gains tax at the time.
Yeah. So we took advantage. So that's what worked so well in the first transaction was the 121 exclusion, which is kind of like a 1031 exchange, but for us common folk, right? So we can actually improve a property. And as long as we live in it in 2 of the last 5 years as our primary residence, we can actually sell the property at a gain. And if you're single, it's $250,000 you get to keep tax-free. If have a spousal equivalent, you can keep $500,000 tax-free. we all need a roof over our head. We're all living somewhere. And if you're willing to put in the work to actually force the improvement, the equity improvement on the property, you can make good chunks of change that way and keep them tax-free and continue to level up. It's not for the weak of heart, though. It's not passive. It's anything but passive, right? But it is a great way to get started. And then if you can combine that with house hacking, right? Like if you have a mother-in-law suite, or you get a duplex, or if you're really brave, you want to live with roommates. I mean, the first year my husband and I were married, we had a roommate. I know your eyes, Joe, are like, what? Yes, we had a roommate. It actually wasn't by design. It was his old college roommate, and he just kind of popped in and popped out. We were taking care of his dog, but he was paying rent. And we're like, hey, it works for everybody. So there you go.
Wow. But you get this aha. You're like, wait a minute. What I really want is my time. And this is a big aha that you have. You've been thinking about income. And I like the way you write this, Whitney, that you've been thinking about income as linear, and you need to think about income as residual. And our stackers might not know the difference between those two terms. So can you talk about linear income streams versus residual income streams?
Yeah, I've landed on kind of different terminology. On you have like one-time income. That's where you trade your time for a dollar. You go to work. Okay. Now, if you do a flip, okay, that's still trading time for money. You just get larger checks. And then you can have, temporary short-term income. So maybe you buy a rental and you're only going to hold on to it for 5 years. You're getting income that way. And then you can have forever income. Now, here's the thing. Most people get really attracted to the large checks. They're like, that's what everybody tells us to do, is build our nest egg as quickly as possible. But what actually pays the grocery bill is having stacks of all those smaller residual checks. And the more you can stack them up over time, where you're not trading your time to get that money at all, that is what's going to unlock the golden handcuffs for you.
I used to think that my enemy was not having enough money. And don't get me wrong, in my 20s, that was totally the thing. But the older I get, the more I realize, Whitney, and this I think is part of your aha, was at this point in your story, you had this aha a long time ago now, is that my true enemy is time. Like this time freedom that I can buy myself to do the things that I want. I just don't have enough time to do all the stuff I want to do.
Yeah. We have a 13-year-old and, we're constantly like remind her, she gets up and she's like, I don't want to go to school. And I'm like, hey, you want to go to work? I got clients today. Here we go. Let's trade it. And she was like, no, thanks.
And
okay. Pass. And I'm like, you have time right now. Let's enjoy it, because soon enough, and we're teaching her how to build income streams. So when income comes in, she is right now, time is what she has. And I'm like, you get a large check at Christmas from grandma and grandpa. Now I just have to ask her, how much do you want to put aside? And this year she was like, 1/3. I'm going to invest 1/3. I didn't even have to ask her. She just told me.
That's sweet.
Because she understands that time is her best asset right now. But I didn't learn that until my 30s. Yeah. I am so jealous of her.
There's also, and this is a big point that you make, you can be a business owner and still have that income linear, meaning I'm working in the business, versus being a business owner and not. And it's funny, back when I was a financial planner, and that was a long time ago, Whitney, but when I was a financial planner, if I met an entrepreneur, my very first question would always be, are you working for your business, or is your business working for you? And you know exactly, Whitney, what 99% of the business owners said. No, I created this so I'd have more freedoms, but I have far fewer freedoms because I work for my business now. And this is another big aha I think you have, which I think was important in 2018. You had like all of these catastrophes hit at one time, and you end up having this big aha that I've got to change things. Can you tell us about 2018? Can I take you back there without needing therapy?
No, it's a scar. It's not a wound. So we can go back. It's totally fine. So in 2018, we're well on our way to having 20 properties under our belt.
It's going really well.
It's going really well. And a lot of that is we are able to execute on what we call the BRRRR method. You buy a property below value, we rehab it, we rent it, put a tenant in there, we refinance, and we're pulling a large chunks of our capital out and just recycling to scale. My husband has a mountain bike accident and breaks his neck.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So, we know immediately he's going to be able to walk, talk, and all that sort of stuff. So, but it's a long road. We knew the next 6 months are going to be really painful for him, to heal and recover from that. But, thankfully, we were so thankful. I mean, the biggest prayers were answered at the very beginning. Yep, he's fine. Walk, talk, everything else we can deal with.
But he's been working on these houses and now he's on the bench.
He's on the bench. We actually have property management. We have a team built at this point in time, but he's financing is under my name. Half is under his name. So I need him to make phone calls. Now he's like signing over power of attorney so I can make phone calls. It was a whole nightmare. About 3 weeks later, we found out my mom had passed away. And so everybody kind of goes, 3 weeks later, how did you find out your mom passed away? Well, my mom and I, a little oil and water. We love each other, but it wasn't unlike us not to, go through a couple weeks or something without talking to each other. And it was to the point where I'm like, if the lady's not answering her phone, I'm going down there.
Oh, no.
Oh, no. Yeah. Think worse thoughts, and there you go. She was older and had health issues and fortunately went very peacefully. But we have to deal with a house.
All of her estate stuff.
All of her estate stuff. Finances in complete disarray. Houses in foreclosure. All of these fun surprises. Okay, so my husband is, one, he can't help me with the rental business. Two, he's in this big neck brace. And so can you imagine sitting in this house, my mom's house, just total, technically a hoarder house, but she just didn't throw away paper. That was her jam. Her whole filing system was on the floor. So he's sitting here with his neck broken in a neck brace, trying to look at every financial document. He can't lift anything. And so I got, my little kids running around. I'm trying to manage, what are we going to do?
And you're starting to mentor people at this point too, right?
I'm mentoring everybody. And then finally I pick up the phone. I call our two property managers and I'm like, so you remember how we were going to say that we were going to scale this and you're going to be eventually our director of operations? That day is today. Don't call me. I will call you. Do you need anything right now? I'll give you 30 minutes of my time. Otherwise, I'm out for the next 6 weeks.
Wow. And you went to then these very short meetings with people and all of a sudden, but thank goodness you had that. And this is the key. You had done enough building to that point that you could, maybe not as easily as you could now, but you could at that point flip that switch and make the change where you did have the time freedom to take care of the important things.
Mm-hmm. But what allowed us to do that was actually having cash flow on all those properties and not investing purely for equity growth, but making sure that, the properties, each of them on their own could stand all of the expenses, principal, interest, taxes, insurance, CapEx maintenance, as well as property management. And that, for newer investors getting into real estate, I see quite often, they're like, oh, well, I'll just save on the property management and I'll do all the management myself. Absolutely put that line item in your budget because you don't know when you're going to have to flip that switch. I mean, I pray you not have to flip the switch for the reasons why I had to. But at some point in time, you're going to want to take a vacation, maybe just even become way less active. You've actually underwritten your labor expense into the business. And that's where it kind of becomes when we invest, especially into controlled assets like this, not just in stocks, but controlled assets, we have to run it like a business. We need to elevate ourselves as the owner out of the business, which means, at some point in time, we have to put in those additional labor pieces. And then, you find the right time to kind of, again, pull that switch.
Yeah, I see that mistake with people in real estate is we don't treat it as, people want to talk about real estate being passive. And then I dive into it. Next thing I know, some of the real estate owners that I know are in this living hell because they haven't treated it like a business. It is this, I'm duct taping everything. And now I have an incredibly active role when I could have done this completely differently. But I know with a lot of people, they're listening to you, Whitney, and this gets them excited that you have all these roadblocks thrown in your way, and yet you persevere. And using the Burr method, which we've talked about here on the show before, learning from every mistake quickly. I think there's this lesson of fail fast and learn fast, right? Go ahead and make the mistake because you're going to make it anyway, but then learn. If somebody's excited now to get into the world of real estate, and I know that first down payment for a lot of people is the bear. Mm-hmm. If we've got a new stacker today that wants to get started, how do I get into that first house? Because the second one I think would be easier than the first one if I do something like read your book or go on the Bigger Pockets website or whatever it might be. How do I get that first down payment?
One, you have to make sure that you're net income positive. So meaning that your income has to be greater than your expenses. Okay. So you got to track your income and expenses and get it in line to where you actually have more income coming in than your expenses so you can save. I help my clients understand, like, really, when we're talking about creating wealth, we're pulling 3 levers. Everything else is a tactic. The strategy is we're increasing income, decreasing expenses, or adding additional streams of income. Either getting more assets or compounding, right? And then we've got the 4th, which is time. The more time you have, the less massive pulls we have to make on the 3 levers. We can kind of take more of a glide path. First order of operations, income and expenses. Let's get that all figured out. Now, I always challenge everybody is to get into relationship with your expenses. Okay. Don't just be like, okay, great. Like, I can save $300 a month and not have to dive into my savings to pay my credit card bill. Get into relationship with your expenses. I actually have my coaching clients. We will map out every quarter. I have them put 5 expenses in front of them that if they actually reduced or eliminated, we actually don't put that back into their daily bucket of funds they can spend. We save that. Oftentimes when I have them map everything out and we actually look at the savings and we annualize that savings, their next down payment is sitting in their expenses.
Right in front of them.
Right in front of them. But the thing is that, most like Monarch, Quicken, Simplify, they don't show you, those softwares don't show you that. You literally just have to create a simple spreadsheet. Monthly expense, annualize that expense. Challenge yourself. Can I eliminate it? Can I renegotiate it? Can I reduce it? And then annualize that savings, that net savings between the two. And I had one coaching client recently that found $85,000. I've been working with him and we found another $85,000.
$85,000
between personal and business.
Sure. Yeah.
He has 2 businesses, but
yeah.
And then we've got the big levers that we can pull.
Before we get to the big lever, though, I want to pause on the expenses, though, that you're talking about right now, because, when I was first doing my homework on Whitney, I read somewhere that Whitney doesn't like budgets, right? Mm-hmm. And I'm like, well, who doesn't like a budget? I mean, a lot of people don't like budgets, but people in finance preaching this stuff. But then I realized it's because of this relationship thing you're talking about. Is a budget doesn't question the relationship between you and the expense, where you're much more about almost the Marie Kondo of expenses. Does this expense actually bring me joy, right? Is this something I really need? And that's what you're questioning. Does this bring me joy versus using this to build an asset that could give me joy forever and ever down the road?
Mm-hmm. Well, and there's another exercise. So I like taking this expense reduction exercise and marrying it with another exercise that I call the happiness formula. And that our happiness really boils down to experiences we have. How do we invest in our growth? And these questions are different for everybody. The answers are different. And then how do we give back in the world? For me, like my experiences, I want to take my daughter to every national park. I want to go to the Olympics and like the World Cup. Somebody else might go, I want to own an island in Fiji, right? Very different. Anyways, write that down, because when you actually think, what actually will make me happy from an experience standpoint, or what, like, I want to take a survival class. That's how I want to go. My husband, that's not his jam, but if he can,
you had me at national parks, you lost me at survival.
I grew up in West Texas, so I know you're from Texas too. So, there is a little bit of country in the girl still.
That's awesome.
Now, okay, you answer these 3 questions. You really think into it, and continue to think into it over time. Like every year, I add to this list, and then it makes it really easy for you to go, does having 5 streaming services like help my goal to like take my daughter and my husband to the Olympics? No, like that's now an easy no. Like if it's not on my list, if it's not on his list, and now our daughter's 13, we're incorporating her into the planning. It's not on her list. It's easy. Like we were entertaining going to visit Florida to go to the Everglades for spring break this year. I was like, I don't want to go back to Florida. She doesn't want to go to Florida. And you hate going to any place humid. I'm like, why are we going to Florida? And so we axed the vacation. But it's just questioning.
I want to sidestep for just a moment because, I'm going down all the different types of investments that you have and car washes. And I said, I want to go back to car wash. How the hell do you go, where I think the money is? It's in a car wash. Like, tell me the story of buying your first car wash.
Mm-hmm. So at this point in time, I'm doing investments in partnership. Okay, so large multifamily, I'm a general partner in large multifamily projects, self-storage projects. And, it's about 2018, end of 2018, we can already see that cash flow is getting compressed in, multifamily assets. We're trying to figure out how to add additional streams, strong additional streams of income. My husband and I were like, we have enough like real estate. We should add in a cash flowing business, okay, for diversification in the portfolio. The managing partners are doing that as well. We look at parking lots, we look at laundromats, even pickleball courts, which the managing partners, they have pickleball courts, they love them. What would our investors actually be attracted to? And we landed on not just car washes. I have to be very specific. It's an express car wash, not the ones where you drive in your car, the concrete box, and you drop your quarters and you pray your kid doesn't spray you with the hose.
Right.
Not the full service ones that have an army of people and that are very labor intensive. We're talking about the ones with the long tunnels where it's
the quick ride through.
And the tunnel is a smart tunnel. It's doing the heavy lifting. Because when you're operating a business, one of the number one ways to control expenses is to lower your labor cost. This is why a lot of real estate professionals, new landlords, try to do everything themselves as opposed to outsourcing, because they think of it controlling costs. We're not trying to eliminate labor, but how can we control it and reduce it as much as possible? And so express car washes allow us to do that. For 3 to 4 full-time employees, we can wash 400 to 500 cars a day.
Wow.
And you can put that on a subscription model. Not all the washes. You don't want all your washes on a subscription model. You want a certain percentage.
I've seen that. We've seen it in our town. When I take mine to even express car wash right on Richmond Road here in Texarkana, and every time I pull up, they're like, do you want just this card, which will give me the subscription so I can come through whenever I want?
Yep. And so long story short, now we're cash flowing businesses, stacking that on top of what we already built. Now, I would never tell anybody not to start there, but you have to understand you're buying into business. Businesses have seasonality. Okay. You have to understand it's a little bit different underwriting. Also, these type of businesses generally don't have property management attached to them. And so it's going to be heavier on the operational cost. We actually have scaled our own property management company for express car washes. But it's a whole different beast than if you're just, doing rental real estate.
Yeah. It's so interesting to see your story of starting with this first house that was a big mistake and ending up with car washes and a very specific kind. And exactly what you want. And it's part of this bigger idea of how I'm creating this future for myself and then creating generational wealth. If only somebody, Whitney, had written a book about this, that would be kick-ass, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
I wish somebody had written a book about, like, as an example, a book that we might have touched on a couple ideas from, but the first section would be like the foundation of a house. And then the second would be about creating wealth and value-based spending and wealth formulas. And then the third section be about how to keep wealth by putting your spending habits in check and about making sure the 4 horsemen that destroy wealth don't get to it. Maybe, call me crazy, a 4th and 5th section about growing your wealth and passing wealth on. Like, that would be nuts if somebody made a book about that.
I know, right? Wait, I did.
You did.
I did.
Who knew?
Yeah.
The book is called Money for Tomorrow, How to Build and Protect Generational Wealth. And you know what? We talked a fair amount today about real estate, but guys, this is not a real estate book. These are the things that you need to know if you're going to build an empire of wealth that preserves all the freedoms you're looking for in your life. I mean, I've read a lot of books from Bigger Pockets, and people are bigger pockets, and we think real estate right away. I don't think this is a real estate book, Whitney.
It was not intended to be a real estate book. We do talk a little bit of real estate in the growth section. That is a bias, but I would say, what is it, almost a 300-page book, and 250 of it have nothing to do with real estate.
No. And like you said, hey, if you want to start with car washes, I probably wouldn't do that. But if you want to start with car washes, you could start there. You could start with whatever the thing is. But I love how you tell your story and also some of the bumps that happened along the way, because I think that gives us all courage. Thank you so much for mentoring our stackers today, Whitney. We'll link to all of Whitney's work, not just the book, on our show notes page at stackingbenjamins.com. Thanks for coming down to the basement.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me.
Hey, this is Pete the Planner, USA Today money columnist and host of the Ask Pete the Planner podcast. When I'm not fixing the weirdest financial situations you've ever heard of, I'm stacking Benjamins.
Hey there, stackers. I'm Joe's mom's neighbor, Doug. And while there's a holiday later this month that's supposed to make you feel all romantic and warm, nothing is more romantic than the gift that Italy gave the rest of the world, spending $1.9 billion cold, hard dollars and sending us all to watch events unfold in Milan. That's right, this Friday marks the start of the 2026 Winter Olympics in both Milan and Cortina d'Ampezzo. Coincidentally, it was on today's date back in 1928 that New York governor and future U.S. President Franklin Delano Roosevelt kicked off the first U.S. Winter Games in Lake Placid, New York, where athletes from 17 nations competed. There's no truth to the idea that Joe opened those games. He was busy probably traveling through Bavaria or on a ride at Disney.
Wow, I'm right here, man.
Maybe just stop talking about it every 7 minutes. Today's question is, which 3 nations have participated in every single Winter and Summer Olympic Games? Get one right, I'll high five you. Get 2, you can brag to your friends. Get all 3, I'll brag about you the rest of the day. Here's a hint, they all talk with funny European accents, and 2 of them have great food. Not the athletes, the countries. Although the athletes, they might have good food too, I suppose.
Dell PCs with Intel Inside are built for the moments you plan and the ones you don't. They're for those all-night study sessions, the moment you're working from a cafe and realize every outlet's taken, the times you're deep in your flow and can't be interrupted by an auto update. That's why Dell builds tech that adapts to you. Built with long-lasting batteries so you're not scrambling for an outlet, and built-in intelligence that makes updates around your schedule, not in the middle of it. Find technology built for the way you work at Dell.com/Dell PCs. Built for you.
Insurance isn't one size fits all. That's why drivers have enjoyed Progressive's Name Your Price tool for years now. With the Name Your Price tool, you tell them what you want to pay, and they'll show you options that fit your budget. So whether you're picking out your first policy or just looking for something that works better for you and your family, they make it easy to see your options. Visit Progressive.com. Find a rate that works for you with the Name Your Price tool. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Price and coverage match limited by state law.
Pepsi Prebiotic Cola in original and cherry vanilla. That Pepsi taste you love with no artificial sweeteners and 3 grams of prebiotic fiber. Pepsi Prebiotic Cola. Unbelievably Pepsi.
Hey there, stackers. I'm downhill Olympic hopeful and knee surgery champion, Joe's mom's neighbor, Doug. The Winter Olympics have always been my favorite. I mean, it's hard to beat the pageantry, the bright colors, and death-defying speeds achieved by athletes wearing almost nothing in freezing temperatures. Plus, the après scene makes the Summer Olympics look like a church barbecue. Today's question was, what are the only 3 countries to have participated in every modern Summer and Winter Olympic Games since they started? The answer? Great Britain. Really? Switzerland and France are the 3 nations that have participated in every single Winter and Summer Olympic Games. I'll let you figure out which of those have shitty food. And now back to 2 guys who are gold medalists at the bar, Joe and OG.
There's no way I want to be a gold medalist at the bar. I do not want anything to do with that.
How about the salad bar?
The salad bar. Yes, that's great.
Where the chocolate pudding is?
So here's a bar that I don't want to be the champion of. Well, I'm conflicted, guys, because when you drive from Texarkana up to the beautiful area, Northwest Arkansas, Bentonville, Fayetteville, and all the gorgeous stuff up there, halfway is this town called Mena. Mena, by the way, was in the movie, that Tom Cruise movie about the true story of
American Made.
Yeah, American Made, the guy that smuggling drugs, working with the CIA and just craziness.
Saw that.
In Mena, there is a restaurant called the Branding Iron, and the Branding Iron has, Doug, listen to this, a bread bar. All you can eat. You just walk over there. They have all the different breads, all the different sauces. They give you these little things, and you scoop some sauces into your
What sauces do you need besides butter?
You got marinara. There's ranch, different dipping oils. It is heaven. That bread bar is the death of me. I love it, but I'm always like...
Remind me to tell you guys a little bit about a potato recipe.
Potato recipe.
Caught wind of recently.
Intrigued.
Big thanks to Whitney Elkins-Hutten for telling her story about building generational wealth. And it strikes me, OG, and obviously the reason we wanted her here was it didn't start there. It just started with my boyfriend wanted to buy a property and I was like, hey, okay. But the piece I really want to pause on of her story as I go back and just think about that discussion we just had was this: that whether you're buying real estate or you're putting money into your first mutual fund, you might make mistakes. You might buy the wrong mutual fund. You might end up buying an individual stock, which you probably shouldn't have done. Or you might end up paying some fees that you didn't, you're at the wrong broker, whatever it might be. You're going to mess stuff up. But what I love about Whitney is when she messed up, she didn't just go, well, it's not for me. This investing thing isn't for me. Which, how many times over your career have you seen it? I've seen that way too many times. Well, that stock market thing, I tried it. I put money in, it went down, so I got out. Like that was just, it was like it was some kind of magic trick that went wrong. When things went poorly for her, she doubled down and said, okay, I know other people have done this before me. What am I missing? What am I doing wrong? And she corrected it. Like that's the key to success, I think, is continually adjust until you finally get it right.
I think you have to have there's a little bit of a balance there between throwing good money after bad. If you're looking at it from a business building standpoint or something like that, I think you have to recognize that you can have a big belief system that you're going to be successful, but if it doesn't bear it out, you got to be able to pivot. It doesn't mean that you can't be if you don't keep trying, but doing the same thing over and over again is kind of silly. So I think whether it's investing or building business or whatever the case may be, you have to put up some guardrails of like, I'm going to do this, then I'm going to reevaluate. I'm going to do this, then I'm going to reevaluate. And I think, like you said, Joe, it's like constantly improving and making small changes to your path. No different than you would if you were, drive across the country or something. You don't just set out and go west.
I think the key there is small changes. It's not you happen to invest shortly before 2008 and think, well, I tried it and
didn't work.
The market crashed and I'm out. Didn't work.
That's the other thing too. When things go wrong, this idea of throwing good money after bad, taking the time to evaluate, is that what I actually did? Go back and almost like a professional athlete, since we're talking about the Olympics and the Super Bowl today, they'll go back and they'll watch the tape and go, what actually happened? There's not conjecture. There's not, well, I know this stock market thing works for some people, but it didn't work for me, so I'm out. Instead go, oh, here's what I did. I invested in a penny stock. That is not great. Like, do enough homework after you mess it up to figure out where the wheels came off the bus.
Well, and I think there's also a difference, or an adjustment, I should say, to the athlete watching video. If you are looking at it from the perspective of, I'm watching it for the first time, what did I do? Versus saying, okay, here's what I remember happening. Now let's go check the facts. Because I think a lot of times too, I'm thinking about some other business that I'm involved in. We think we saw it one way, and then you document all that and you go, this is what happened. And then you watch the objective video and you go, either I was right and I saw it the way that I thought I saw it and I evaluated that correctly, or it happened a different way. And you go, wait a second. Why does my brain say this is what happened, but the video says this is what happened? If you're not paying attention to the story that you're selling yourself, because that's really what a lot of this is too. It's like either wild hope and optimism or wild panic and stress. Very rarely are people like right in the middle, you know? And so again, back to the story that actually happened, the story that you think happened. We've got a tool in Strategic Coach that we use called the Experience Transformer. And it's really just this list of questions of like, this is what happened. This is what went really good in that process. Here's what went really bad. And, you know, if I fix the bad things, could I repeat this more successfully in the future? And what would that look like? Same thing when you're looking at real estate or stock investing or building your business or whatever, constantly evaluating. That's why I think it's really interesting. People say like, oh, you just set it and forget it. Really? I don't know.
Ish.
That's not me.
Ish.
Yeah.
I mean, you said it. I don't think you can quote forget it, but you need to have that mind frame of, I'm not going to make moves, but I'm going to continue to go, am I on the course? Is this still working for me? Am I close enough to the spot where I need to be changing the level of risk that I'm taking in this investment? It is this fine line. I just think, you know, hearing Whitney's story, so she gets really lucky on that first property. The second property goes completely foobar. At the end of that second property, I would have gone, oh, I was just lucky the first time and I'm out. I'm not doing real estate anymore. And frankly, that's kind of what I did with real estate. Now, I know a lot more now than I did at the time that I owned real estate.
Right.
And maybe I would do things way differently. I just know that type of investment, not for me. It's for a bunch of people, which is why I'm happy that we had Whitney on, because especially when it's a hands-on thing like real estate, it's fantastic. I also love her lesson that flipping houses is active and this is a full-time job. And your goal with your investment strategy, and don't get me wrong, like she said, oh, gee, nothing wrong with flipping houses, but just realize this is a job. If you want more passive investing, well, then certainly buying a house and putting a tenant in it is 10 degrees more passive, still not 100% passive, not like owning a mutual fund is. But this idea of shifting your income streams, I think, can be pretty powerful as well. Good stuff from Whitney. And again, we'll link to her book on our show notes at stackingbenjamins.com. Let's do our headline.
Hello, darlings. And now it's time for your favorite part of the show, our Stacking Benjamins headlines.
Today's headline comes to us from Investment News. This is written by Bruce Kelly. LPL, Ameriprise report online attacks on clients' accounts, data to Maine. Boy, this puts a pit in your stomach. LPL Financial and Ameriprise Financial Services recently sent letters to some of their clients detailing attacks on their private information. Regarding LPL, the attack resulted in so-called, quote, pump and dump trades from September 30th to October 10th of last year in 53 client accounts. In respect to Ameriprise, a financial advisor fell prey to a phishing scam in December and potentially left sensitive information vulnerable for almost 600 clients. Both were reported recently to Maine's Attorney General, which publishes those incidents online. Both companies, of course, right away reported their data breaches. They say in this piece, OG, especially when advisors are moving from one company to another, attackers are really getting smart about the fact that this is a great time when they can go on the attack and potentially but because there's some confusion going on, right? We don't know who the new players are with the new firm. We don't know who the players were with the old firm. It's an easier time for hackers, for scammers to jump in. I also think, though, this isn't just financial planners. I mean, my wife works in the healthcare field. We're seeing data breaches now all the time in healthcare as the person who works at the front desk, fairly easy to fool into, letting somebody into someone else's account.
I was recently, well, first of all, on the healthcare side of things, my daughter, who's 9, just got a letter from the hospital where she was at some years ago that said, oh, your information was all stolen. So you can set up free credit monitoring on Experian. I'm like, she's 9. And I was like, really? But, the thing that I've started doing recently, and by recently, I mean, probably in the last 5 or 8 years, is, a lot of places will ask you for personal information. And I go, do you really need that? And they go, we just need your social. Really? What if I say no?
Yeah.
Like, what if I just say, like, what happens then? Like, I'm not trying to be a jackass. I'm just saying, like, what can't we do if I don't give that to you? Oh, well, we just like to have that on file. I'm like, well, no offense to you and your high power security that you got here, but if they can hack Citibank and Ameriprise, and the one I thought you were going to say today, which was all over the news because of the fact that they didn't tell anybody, was Betterment, which couldn't happen to a better company. The fine folks at Betterment were hacked with a ransomware attack. They didn't tell anybody or pay the ransom, of course. I don't remember the number. It was like 6 million or 600,000 or something people.
Oh boy.
Name all their personal identifiable information,
God.
all their customer information, name, address, social, date of birth, all that stuff was hacked. And what's crazy about it was they didn't tell anybody. They tried to solve it internally without
the not tell anybody part is the horrible part. Because look at this. Yeah. I mean, Ameriprise.
Shocking.
Right.
It's shocking what comes out of Betterment.
100%.
I will fight you if you're at Betterment. So come at me, bro.
LPL and Ameriprise immediately went public, hey, this is frankly why we created the Vault, is because of the fact that this stuff is just going to keep happening, OG. And the Vault even isn't going to solve the problem. It'll solve the problem of, hey, here's where your information was stored. Here's what's going on. Here's the way to fight it. But the best battle, back to those people that laugh at me because I always mention Sun Tzu, is the one that's never fought, right? Sun Tzu, The Art of War. To your point, asking the question, do you even need this? Why do you need this? Is there some reason why I have to share this? Not putting it out there in the first place, I think, is your first line of defense. Yeah, I mean, look at when I first put my stuff in the Vault, 56 companies selling my information. Immediately, we're wiping those out. Let's get rid of these 56 places. And then all the time, there's 3 or 4 more that it's finding. Oh, guess what? Somebody else selling your, it's going to be a never ending thing because to your point, my information is it's out there. You're going to have to fight the good fight on an ongoing basis.
Yeah. And setting up systems, technology ones like what you're talking about, locking your credit. And then again, just trying to, as best as you can, limit where that stuff is. And sometimes it's just as easy just to go, I don't know that I need to give you that info. And what happens? Nothing. Do you store your credit card information online? It's convenient. When this says
at the individual sites, on the airline and
check here to save for future purchases. I mean, it's convenient.
You're going to be fighting it over and over and over and over and over. So limiting as much as you can, I think, is a great first line of defense. I will link to this at stackingbenjamins.com and you can dive in more on our show notes page. Let's wander out to the back porch because, man, it's getting heated this week. Our Seattle and Boston contingents, Doug, they are going at each other.
Yeah, I don't know why. Seattle's putting up a fight for pride.
Oh, man.
Really? But they're going to lose. Dude, they know they're going to lose.
I think, listen, I love our Boston area stackers. And James, even one of our, he's not going to like that I said this, but James in a private chat, he's like, I never thought of our team as a Super Bowl team. I think we're pretty good. Mike Vrabel, great coach, and what a success story they had this year. But are we a Super Bowl team? I think,
no.
Doug, you can
6 of their games were against last place teams at the time. But I mean,
including the AFC Championship.
You're fighting a good fight there, Doug, but I think
that's why I'm so convinced they're going to win, because it's a great story, and the NFL likes nothing more than to script a great story. So I think they've already decided who's going to win.
I just think
28-24 New England.
It isn't a mistake that, listen, we only have 4 meetup groups: the Twin Cities, Southern Minnesota at Minnesota State University, Seattle, and Boston. Is it a coincidence that we have bad meetup groups, Benjamin's After Dark groups, in the same cities where the Super Bowl is? Of course not. I mean, it is 100% because it's the Stacking Benjamins correlation.
Just like there was a time when you could see where the up-and-coming real estate investment neighborhoods were by looking at where Starbucks was putting locations. Same
thing. 100%. Excited to see who wins there. Love to see the back and forth between. And by the way, if you're in any of those communities, if you're in Seattle, if you're in the Twin Cities, if you're near Mankato, where Southern Minnesota University is, of course, if I said the word Mankato and you don't know where that is, me telling you that it's near Southern Minnesota University,
it's not doing the trick.
Isn't going to help at all. Or if you're in the Boston area, we're getting rolling. So head to your meetup group at stackingbenjamins.com/bad to see the full list of meetup groups and to look at when the meetup group meets next and how to get more information.
Joe, I just want to point out, we did get a very curious review a few days ago. Like the review itself, I've got 2 issues with the review. I'll just say it now. The title and the close. The middle part, you're going to love. This is from Colorado boy MJ. And the main part of the review, like, here you go. You're going to love this. Joe and OG are true veterans of personal finance education. ! You can tell they've been at this for a while because they take topics that might be found on other podcasts, but they present it all with new angles that always make sense. So here's where it kind of takes a left turn I don't approve of. They even put up with Doug. So that part sucks.
Never truer.
And then, funny you should use the word never, because the title of this, I'm really confused on. Maybe you can help me out. It's a 5-star review, and they just said really nice things, except that last part. And the title of the review says never on repeat. I don't get it. MJ, tell us what you mean by never on repeat. It's a 5-star review. Say really nice things, except that last part. What does that mean? It's a mystery.
That is a mystery. Love to hear more what that means. Well, but that is a stacker, though. Always keep them guessing. Nobody knows. Always keep them guessing.
A little quirky.
Yes. Thanks for the review. Hey guys, I'm going to be in a couple places February 21st and 22nd at the 1% Better Conference in Omaha, Nebraska. On the 20th, we're going to have a meetup the night before with stackers. stackingbenjamins.com/meetup gets you there. A couple weeks later, March 5th, we're doing a meetup on Thursday night in Seattle. We'll be in the Capitol Hill neighborhood at Elysian Brewing. Come join us there. Again, stackingbenjamins.com/meetup. And of course, the Retire Meet Conference is the days after that. Just go to Retire Meet, look up Retire Meet in Google, and you can get your ticket to Retire Meet. I'll be on the main stage there talking about the most common mistakes people make in their retirement plan. Retirement mistakes that make you unhappy. When we're solving for happiness, things change versus some of the crazy optimization things people do. And I'll be talking about that. But I'm sharing the stage with a ton of great speakers at Retire Meet. Of course, Tom and Don do a heck of a job with the biggest retirement one-day conference in the nation at Retire Meet in Seattle. So hope you can join me either in Seattle or in Omaha. Coming soon, by the way, to a couple other cities. I think we'll keep those on the back burner for now. But one more thing is, if you're somebody that's here because you need a better financial plan, OG and his team are taking clients. Head to stackingbenjamins.com/OG. You can see his and Anna's calendars and dive into getting better help and making better decisions with your money in 2026 and beyond. All right, that's going to put a pin in it, except for this. Doug, tell us, what are the top 3 things we should have learned today?
Well, Joe, first, take some advice from Whitney Elkins-Hutten and start building wealth today. It doesn't matter whether you know your North Star yet. Let your feet start walking, and soon you'll be miles ahead of where you are now financially. Second, data breaches, they're going to keep happening. So put your plan together to solve how you're going to keep your data safe. But the big lesson? Don't go skiing with OG unless you want a story that will just never, ever get old. Thanks to Whitney Elkins-Hutten for helping us find lasting wealth. You'll find her book on the topic, Money for Tomorrow, wherever books are sold. We'll also include links in our show notes at stackingbenjamins.com. This show is the property of SB Podcast, LLC, copyright 2026, and is created by Joe Saul-Sehy. You'll find out about our awesome team at stackingbenjamins.com, along with the show notes and how you can find us on YouTube and all the usual social media spots. Come say hello. And oh yeah, before I go, not only should you not take advice from these nerds, don't take advice from people you don't know. This show is for entertainment purposes only. Before making any financial decisions, speak with a real financial advisor. I'm Joe's mom's neighbor, Doug, and we'll see you next time back here at the Stacking Benjamin Show.
Welcome to the after show. This is the part of the show that doesn't exist. People ask all the time about the after show, and you didn't hear it. You have no idea what we're talking about. What happens in the after show stays in the after show. Also, if you're here for Money Talk, that day is done. I almost said those days are done. No, we'll be back with more Money Talk on Friday. We will be back, but no more Money Talk today. Two things. Number one is, Doug, you referenced, if it's somebody's first time here, you referenced OG and skiing. I think you have to go back and listen to some of the old episodes to hear about OG and Doug going skiing together and what fun that was.
About a year ago right now. We just got along so well.
So if you had no idea what that was about, that was a callback.
We did get along well, I thought.
We did. Well,
the part where you tried to
I think I enjoyed it more than you did.
You enjoyed it more than me? Is that what you said?
That's what
I think OG enjoyed sitting around the fire while you're out looking for him.
I'm just so even my entire life. I never have too many highs nor too many lows. I'm just always the same.
Always.
Yes, you are.
Tell us about the potato, OG.
We, every year we go to this food and wine thing that's in the Caymans, and it's called the Cayman Cookout. And I've talked about it before. There's a lot of chefs, and you just get this really indulgent food. One of our final dinners was beef with some potatoes. And, so you get the beef, it's perfectly cooked and it's got great, seasoning and everything. And then the potatoes, you're looking at, you're like, what the heck are these things? And you're always expecting something wild. And by wild, I mean like, oh, you thought that was a potato? That's actually a starfish, and you're like, what? Or like, just like something completely off the rails. Right. But it was a potato and it had some truffle on it, which made it extra special. But the potatoes themselves were fantastic. It's like, these are the best potatoes it's just mashed potatoes. It was mashed potatoes, right? You know? So Alyssa has followed the chefs in the thing on Instagram and everything. And so somewhere in all the posts about this was another chef who was videoing this chef make the potatoes. And so basically got the recipe for this guy's like fancy mashed potatoes. And so when you guys make mashed potatoes, you guys have made mashed potatoes many times, I'm sure. Like, just big picture, high level. Potatoes in the pan, right? Boil them, strain it, and then what do y'all do? What do you put in your potatoes?
I then, get the masher out.
Yeah.
Start breaking them up, and probably halfway through, I get a little heavy cream if I have it, maybe some milk if I don't, butter, usually a little rosemary, probably herbs de Provence, HDP as we call it in my house.
HDP, yeah,
frisky.
you know me.
A little salt and pepper, garlic, whatever your deal is.
Yeah.
So, let's say that you were making up mashed potatoes for dinner just one, not Christmas or Thanksgiving where a lot of people
Just
there,
a
but
Wednesday.
4 or 5 people, you got not quite 2 pounds of potatoes, maybe 4 or 5 mashed potatoes. How much butter would you put in, like, out of curiosity?
If I'm cooking for 4 or 5 people,
adults, so you've got like 5 or 6 yellow gold potatoes,
half a stick
of butter. Right.
Yeah.
And it's buttery as hell. Right. You mash it up and you put the seasoning.
Oh yeah.
You
could see it.
The ratio. So all this guy had in his potatoes were potatoes and butter. We put a little salt in there because we felt that it needed it. I think the truffle added that extra little bit that we didn't have. But anyways, the ratio of potato to butter in this guy's recipe is for every kilogram of potatoes.
I don't know how much that is. I'm an American.
1,000 grams, right? Is that right?
Yeah, but
it is.
I just want to make sure I'm saying this correctly. 1,000 grams is a kilogram.
Kilograms is 1,000 grams. Yeah.
How many kilograms is in a potato?
Right.
Well, I'm going to tell you, and then I'll translate it to real world stuff. Okay. So every kilogram of potatoes is 600 grams of butter. Okay. So I'm going to tell you what we did yesterday. So we made 6 potatoes. I peeled 6 potatoes, boiled them. I eyeballed it on the cutting board. It was like a little pile of cut up potatoes. Like that's about what we need for the family.
Yeah, I'm just doing the math here. It doesn't matter kilograms to whatever. If I take 1,600 for every unit of potato, I'm doing half of that unit of butter, like half a potato of butter. So 6 potatoes would be 3 potato-sized things but more than that.
So a kilogram is 2.2 pounds.
Yes. Everyone knows this.
Right. I think everybody knows that.
Okay. So I boiled the potatoes, and then Lissa says, we got to weigh the potatoes to see how much they were. So we had 780 grams of potatoes in our thing. So we figured out based on this ratio, it would be 400 and something grams of butter. So I was like, okay, cool. We had this, butter, sticks of butter. And so I put a stick of butter on the thing. I was like, uh-oh. She's like, how much is a stick? Yeah, that's like 100 grams. So we had 750 grams of potatoes that was supposed to use 4 sticks of butter. We stopped at 2 because we're like, okay, we can't. Like, I'm with you, Doug. I would do you put a couple tablespoons
and I'm done.
Mix it together.
Right.
And maybe some milk or some cream and maybe a dollop of sour cream or cream cheese or something like that to add a little bit of something to it. No, this is mashed potatoes with 50% butter.
God,
we stopped at 25% butter, and it was like the spoon was glistening as you got close to the thing. It was just like, would you like some potato with your butter?
I have heard that's why we all love eating out so much, is because restaurants use so much more butter than you realize.
So FYI, if you ever want to have amazing potatoes in your house, literally go we went a third to 1, 25% to 1, 4 to 1, basically potato to butter. So we got 2 sticks of butter in there. Everybody, they're like, these are the greatest potatoes in the universe. Oh my God, they're amazing.
It's just a butter delivery vehicle. That's all it really is.
Basically.
The potatoes are extra.
Yeah, that's right.
So a lot of times you see this, and this was the moral of the story, Doug, you jump to the end. A lot of times you go out to dinner, right? And you're like, oh man, how come their steak is so much better than when I make it? Well, because they serve it to you on a plate of boiling butter.
Mm-hmm.
Why are your vegetables so much better at the restaurant? Because they serve it to you in a bowl of butter.
Duh.
The bread, butter.